Zimbabwean organization Team Pachedu will hold a stay-away demonstration on Monday. The groups, along with a number of other organizations such as workers' unions and student bodies, have listed their demands, some of which are calls to end the currency crisis, reduce the cost of education and increase of salaries and pensions. The group also states that further action will be taken if their government doesn't act. We're joined now by founding member and coordinator at Team Pachedu Tafadzwa Sambiri. Tafadzwa, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us. I think often when we talk about the Zimbabwean economy, we know that we're talking about an economy that's largely made up of an informal sector. We know that it's an economy that's currently under threat because of the COVID-19 pandemic, impending droughts. There are talks of food shortages because of price increases. So there's a lot to unpack when it comes to this. Your call is for your government to take these issues more seriously. Talk to us about how you plan to send that message across.
Good morning, Togo. Thank you so much for hosting us. So we are clearly sending the message to the Zimbabwean government to say they have to change their policies that they have enacted. Our call is simple. We have joined other organizations, as you just said earlier on. We are joined by the teachers, we are joined by the students, we are joined by the nurses, the doctors. We are simply saying to them, we cannot continue as a nation with the current situation that we are in, economically and politically also. So we are just calling on our Zimbabwe to just stay away for a day. As you said, the Zimbabwean economy is made up mostly of informal jobs. These are mainly vendors. The economy has been destroyed by the same government. The economy has been destroyed by policies that favor only those that are corrupt from the ruling party. And we are saying as Zimbabwean citizens, let's just come together and send a strong message to the holding authorities instead of us just complaining or jumping the border, crossing over to South Africa. We need to be bold also. We need to send a peaceful statement to the government of Zimbabwe to enact policies that enable the growth of the economy. They have taken away so many things, so many privileges from the citizens in Zimbabwe. And we're just saying, let's just try to do something instead of us waiting for an election. Let's use other peaceful means to air our voices, air our views as far as the economic performance and the political situation in the country is concerned.
What are your thoughts, Tafadzwa, on what the government has actually been saying when it comes to the Zimbabwean economy? I mean, I mentioned earlier, impending food shortages. I mentioned the currency crisis that is currently facing the country. But oftentimes, when you hear President Emmerson Mnangagwa's government respond to these issues, often there's, a blame game, blaming the West and the economic sanctions that were imposed on Zimbabwe and blaming the economic downturn of the country on that. And these are sanctions that were imposed, 2 decades ago. And I'm curious about your organization and just general feeling on the ground with this response from the government. Is it still a fair assessment of what's happening in the country?
You look from our own assessment and from the general population of the nation of Zimbabwe, our economy has not been performing because of a certain cocktails from the ruling party itself since it came into power in 1980. I know there's been a matter that has been put that this is a sanction issue. These are no sanction issues. Zimbabwean farmers, for example, can export their fruits to Europe. Zimbabwe is still mining diamonds. Zimbabwe is still mining gold. But the issue is corruption, and they cannot blame the West, or as they always say, because we are not performing because of sanctions. It's not an issue of sanctions. It's an issue of mismanagement of resources in Africa. It's an issue of mismanagement of resources in the nation of Zimbabwe. We have so many diamonds. We have a lot of platinum, we have a lot of minerals. But you find out that the policies that are in place, they don't promote. They are not investor friendly, and the same policies also favor only those that are coming from the elite, the ruling party. We have people importing luxury cars, and most of them, they are really connected to those in government, to those in power. The economy is not performing simply because the present government of ZANU-PF and Emmerson Mnangagwa has failed to deliver the promises that they made in July 2018. They have failed to enact these policies for a long time. They produce these documents, these policy-driven documents, for example, Zim Asset, and now they produce another document, but then they fail to implement those things. And chief among them, the reason why they really fail to is corruption and lack of political will on their side. We are dealing with a government, it's a regime that promotes corruption instead of economic growth.
Yeah. Tafadzwa, there's been a lot of talk as well around the sort of structural constraints that are existing when looking at the Zimbabwean economy. What sort of changes structurally need to be implemented? What sort of policies that will speak to the structural issues are needed to increase participation of Zimbabweans in the economy and to, transform the fact that it is largely made up of informal workers. It is largely an informal sector as opposed to a more formalized one.
I think the first step that we need to look at before we enact any policies is the anti-corruption policy. As long as corruption is in place and is being promoted and there's impunity on those that promote corruption, any policy that we come up with will not see the day because the issue of corruption will always pop up. So after addressing corruption, which luckily is impossible because the sitting president also is promoting it, we have an individual by the name of Kudata Gwire who now briefly on the role of Zimbabwe. Even the crisis situation that we're facing today, he's the one who's providing buses, he's buying buses and selling them to government at a ridiculous price, almost 3 times. And this is being promoted by the same government, the same authorities, the same president. So we have to deal with corruption first if we are going to come up with good economic policies. And over to the other sort of amendment that we want to see, we want to see a program or a policy that does away with the Zimbabwean dollar for now. The Zimbabwean dollar is being used to steal from the people. The government gives people worthless paper and they take away the foreign currency. So we need for now, until we are really stable, until our manufacturing is gone up, at least park the Zim dollar issue and continue with the US dollar or mark currency that were in place in 2019 to 2023 when there was a government national unit. Those policies, they worked. They promoted growth and Zimbabwe was slowly coming up, economy was going up. So we need to go back to those policies that they were enacted during the government of national unit. I think they know what they need to, what needs to be done because of corruption. They are their friends, they end up losing the money. So this is the case of corruption.
Yeah. Well, I mean, have you had any prior engagements with the government on these issues? You are obviously planning the shutdown, but have you tried to engage the government on a number of the demands that you've listed already? And if so, has there been any kind of response?
Well, we have tried on our part to engage with the government in various spheres. We have tried to talk to them. We have tried to write to them. Even most of our affiliated organizations that are pushing for this shutdown, they have written to the ministers responsible. But the response has been nothing from the government of Zimbabwe. Typically, this is so typical of the government of Zimbabwe. They don't respond to individual citizens' demands. Zimbabwe is a nation that operates under fear, and they just, when you raise up your voice, when you raise up something that is important, the first thing that they want to do is crush you. They will use violence to silence you. And they haven't really responded, but we noted the president address last night concerning issues that we have raised and other citizens have raised. We are yet to fully study the document. We're issued late in the evening, but we are just picked on it and just browsed on it. Some of the measures that you want to introduce, they won't help with the economic situation on the ground in Zimbabwe. For example, they are trying to increase capital gains tax on those that are trading on the stock market from 20% to 40%, meaning again they are going to kill the stock market. When they kill the stock market, there's going to be capital flight again from foreign investors that are investing in the Zimbabwe market. So the Zimbabwe government basically does not respond to the needs, and this is why we are calling for the shutdown, to say you have to address us, you have to address our concerns as a citizen of this nation. After whatever we are demanding was in their manifesto of 2018 elections, we are simply asking them to implement their manifesto. And 4 years after elections, they haven't implemented anything.
I mean, you've mentioned a non-responsive government. Are you at all concerned about safety? I mean, I'm thinking about the 2019 crackdown by police on citizens, the excessive force, in fact, that was used by officials on protesting citizens. Are you at all concerned that there's a possibility your own government could retaliate against you should your planned shutdown gain enough traction?
Yeah, the issue of safety in Zimbabwe is always a priority. It's always at the top. I as an individual, it isn't a risk for me to be here on this channel to talk to you. It's a risk on my family. It's a risk on me. It's a risk around those me. There's always an issue of safety. But once again, if you really don't speak up, if we don't talk about these things, no one is going to come and rescue us. We have to break the fear. So the challenge in Zimbabwe has been the issue of breaking fear. We have noted also from most prominent organizations, they haven't spoken about it because of the previous crackdown that was unleashed on them. So it's an issue of fear, but we are telling our members, we're telling Zimbabwe citizens to simply stay at home. If you stay at home, no one is going to come to you and say, no, why are you home? What are you doing? What are you supposed to go to work? That will be a real infringement on people's rights. So in order to avoid any violence, any crackdown by the authorities, this is why we are simply saying, just stay home. We are safer being home than anywhere else. Even when you talk of safety, last night, for example, there was a by-election in a town just nearby, and the opposition members were assaulted. Someone left for dead, and these were polling agents. It's just a by-election talk. This is the situation that we're dealing with in Zimbabwe. Either way, if you are not brave enough, we end up crossing to South Africa, and we go to South Africa, we also face Operation Tudula. And this is why we have to be brave enough to demand our country back. It's simply citizens speaking up and saying, we need our country back.
Well, Mr. Sambiri, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us. That was founding member and coordinator at Team Pachedu Tafadzwa Sambiri. We have reached out to the Zimbabwean government to give us their comment on the matter, to no avail.